This is We the Sales Engineers Podcast, show 210.
Welcome to We the SEs Podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode. This is show 210 of We the Sales Engineers, so we've been doing this for a while, and yet I don't remember talking to anyone out of Spain. And today we'll be talking to someone out of Spain. Rafael Lluis, who is the head of pre-sales for EMEA and Middle East for a company called Liferay. He joins me today, and I wanted to pick his brain because I've never talked to someone from Spain about sales engineering, or at least being a pre-sales leader. Most of the pre-sales leaders that I've talked to are either based out of the UK or the US, so it's interesting to see someone from somewhere else. And we covered a lot of different topics on the show, including how if someone as a pre-sales engineer needs to be business oriented, but also be very technical, how does one balance that? We've talked about how he goes about hiring pre-sales engineers when there's a shortage, and pre-sales or sales engineers are kind of expensive. So they want to make sure that they're hiring the right person from the get-go. So we covered a lot of topics. And we go back and forth. We kind of brainstorm some ideas on the show, which was great. I enjoy doing that. So yeah, let's just jump into the show and see what Rafa has to say. Good evening, Rafa. How are you doing?
Hello. Fine. I'm fine. Nice to meet you and nice to be here.
Well, nice to have you here as well. So you are in Spain, right?
Yeah, in Madrid, right in Madrid, and then in Spain, of course. Yeah.
You're the first head of sales engineering that I've met outside of US and UK. So it's good to see some diversity in terms of the geographical area. Could you share a little bit more about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is Rafael Lluis, and I've been working at Liferay for more than 5 years. I joined in Liferay as a consultant at the very beginning, but at that time, pre-sales and consultancy were together. But then I rapidly came back to pre-sales. I say came back because in my previous company, I was also doing pre-sales for the last 3 years. So all that started. Then since 2.5 years, I'm leading the pre-sales team for EMEA. Now the title is senior manager, I think. So leading the team, 15 people across EMEA in our company. Well, Liferay, it's an open source company that has different products for enterprises. Liferay DXP, the digital experience platform, is the one that is the most well known out there.
Maybe you mentioned that you were starting consultancy and then you moved to sales engineering. Maybe we can differentiate. What's the difference between consultancy and pre-sales?
Yeah, at least to me, when I say consultancy, is that, we are mainly doing or executing a project or helping, but in a technical way, a specific customer with a very specific problem or similar. When speaking about pre-sales, then we can also do that kind of, but the main thing of pre-sales is to be together with sales, trying to, in our case at least, sell our product, not only to new prospects, etc., but also to have the customers renewing, to have the customers happy. So there's kind of relation between the two things, but one is more, pre-sales, the other one is more maybe post-sales and executing.
Okay. So consultancy comes after the sale. As a pre-sales engineer, you can sell consultants.
Yeah,
time.
Of course.
Okay.
That happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did network design engineering at my previous company. So that was post-sales, and now I can sell that service to my customers if they so choose. Why did you decide to go from consultancy to pre-sales? What drew you back into that role?
When I was in the previous company, I started as a developer, then I was doing kind of business analyst, then project manager, etc. So there was this evolution. But at a given point, I started to work also with sales, So I was a project manager, but also working with sales. And then I was told, hey, you need to, nowadays, we need to have people that are fully dedicated to pre-sales. That was new for that company at that time. So they put me into that decision, and I had the right to decide, okay, should I keep doing a project manager, or can I change to something else which is called pre-sales or sales engineering? I decided for changing, and well, I'm happy since then. I mean, I thought that I could add more at that time for that company. I thought that I was going to add more value in pre-sales, because if not, they were going to find new people that weren't going to know the people that were already in the company. So at that time, it was mainly because of that. But then after that, I started enjoying the things I was doing, and well, I'm doing pre-sales since 8 years now. So yeah, I'm happy with the change I did at that time.
Okay. And did you go in as a SE leader directly in the new company?
No. When I joined Liferay, I was, like starting in consultancy, trying to kind of reconnect again with the technical world. But well, okay, there was a guy there doing consultancy and pre-sales. He left the company, so I need to do pre-sales, the pre-sales stuff as sooner than expected. And then, well, the company maybe saw that I was more, in a better place doing pre-sales. And then, well, what happened? The company also decided to create the specific business unit for pre-sales. With that evolution, once that I was in the company, mainly doing pre-sales for 2 years, then I was offered the opportunity to start leading the team in EMEA. So, well, kind of, I was, like at the right moment, at the right place, I could say. But well, there were more people trying to be in that role, and well, I was the one that was chosen at that time.
Yeah, so you had an opportunity in front of you and you took it, basically.
Yeah, sometimes you are doing right and you don't have the opportunity, right? So that's why I say that I was in the right place. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're doing wrong, you won't have the opportunity. If you're doing right, you may or may not have the opportunity.
Yeah.
But at least you're setting yourself up for if an opportunity comes. So you have a team of 15 people across EMEA. I'm imagining that could be from the UK to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's very distributed. We have countries where we have a very good presence in Liferay. So for instance, in Spain, we have 4 people. In Germany, we have 3 people. Then in the UK, we have 2 people. In the Middle East, 2 people. And then, well, we have 1 person in Italy, another one in Benelux, etc. So, and in France and so on. There are also other places where we don't have anyone. Then we, of course, try to help from the other countries. Yeah.
So, in the US and in Canada, almost everybody speaks English. Our business is done in English. In Canada, it's a little bit different because there's a French area in Canada where you kind of have to know French to be able to do business there.
Yeah.
Is there a language requirement from your SEs to be able to work in all these different territories?
Of course. Yeah, of course. That's why we have people in many places. So in France, you need to speak French. In Spain, you need to speak Spanish. And in Italy, you need to speak Italian. However, well, there are other countries in Germany, okay, you need to speak German, but you can also do a demonstration in English and nothing is going to happen. In Spain, it's the same. I'm speaking English, of course, now, and I can have a meeting in English, but if I want to be fair, I would say that maybe the 50% of the customers won't really allow a meeting happening in English in Spain. So with that, we really need to have people like in France. If we want to sell in France, we need to have people speaking French, of course. So yeah, that's why, for instance, we have more people doing pre-sales in EMEA than in the US, which is bigger.
Yeah.
So that happens because of the language. Yeah.
It's interesting. If you mentioned you have 1 person in France, can that person take vacation?
Yes, he can. I mean, so if he goes on vacation and there is a big need, then I will join, and the account manager will say to the client, hey, this needs to happen in English this time. Is it fine? If not, well, we'll need to wait for 2 weeks. What do you prefer? So yeah, it can happen. It can happen. He's a busy guy, by the way. That's
and like as a manager, when you're handling people like from different cultures, different languages, what are the challenges that you're facing today to make sure that you have a team, not a bunch of different people?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, the first thing is that we really have senior people in the team. I was kind of lucky. When I started, I knew that many people were senior. Some of them were in the company for more years than I was at that time. So, well, I just trying to be there, trying to help, trying to organize a little bit. Then, well, with that, it is true that, these 2 years and a half, we've been experiencing all this change around the pre-sales, asked to be more and more business oriented, So we used to do our stuff, very technical stuff, sewing filters and so on, and that is not fancy anymore. So, well, as a leader, I was, trying to at least put different practices in place. Trying to make the people studying things, studying knowledge, studying good practices, and well, that was the things we started, and so far it has been working very well. We have the people collaborating, we have the people learning from each other. They speak. We have the COVID situation now. It's harder because we are not traveling. We cannot meet together apart from online meetings. But well, yeah, life is life.
So how do your SEs collaborate together, being from like different in different areas, different requirements?
Well, there are different means, of course. The tools are the ones that help. You can have chat tools, so we collaborate, we speak, etc. But in our platform, at least, one thing that is very important is that we have little pieces that can be reused. Okay, so I mean, it's a digital skills platform, so you need to, have the capability to drag and drop a file. So then if a sales engineer goes and invests time on creating that, then the next thing is, hey, why don't you share that piece of functionality with other people? Or the same with a full demo. We can also create full demos. One demo that is speaking about the insurance sector, another one that is speaking about the financial sector, etc. And then we are going to share those demos between ourselves. Now, it's not only about sharing. If you are going to share something, you need to documentate it. You need to maybe create a script, record a video of yourself doing it, etc. So, well, all that is going to require time, but well, that's how we share things and we share knowledge here.
And how does an SE manage? A big thing that I see is a lot of times salespeople want SEs in front of customers all the time, and if they're taking time to do all of that, it's not good because we're not selling to customers.
Yeah.
How do you manage that?
So, well, at the very beginning, we could only get people selling stuff from the big countries. So again, imagine Spain. We have 4 people doing sales engineering there. Why do we have 4 people? Because we can have time also for helping other regions. So I might not have a meeting every day. In such a case, I can spend a little bit of my time doing something else. So, it's like looking for this balance where you never get bored, of course. But if you get, then your next thing to do is to think on how to contribute to the team, to the business unit. So that's the way it goes. So people that are more or less alone in a specific place, they also contribute, but very, very less. Like, okay, they do what they can, of course. They mainly use what they see instead of contributing, but that is fine also because, hey, they have a meeting every 2 days. So.
I don't know if you're familiar with like Microsoft
Yeah.
job descriptions. In their job description, especially for salespeople, they say you have to spend X% of your time doing this, X% of your time doing that. If you were to think about the way your team spends their time, what is the thing that they spend their time most on? What is it that they spend the least on? What should they be improving?
Yeah. Well, of course that. Well, first of all, we spend the majority of our time preparing a demo. Okay, preparing the demo that we need to do, because when you do a demo, you maybe spend 1 hour, 30 minutes, 1 hour and a half, but the preparation that you need to do maybe goes for 3-4 days at least. Our platform still requires to do some extra steps. It's not like configuring 2 things. You need to do really real stuff. But so that's the number one for sure. Then, well, the next thing is, okay, as I am doing this for a specific client, can I do an extra step to be able to share that in the team? Yeah, so that's the idea, like an extra step, just a little bit more, so I can share that into the team. And well, the rest of it is learning, because we need to be learning about our platform every day. It's a big platform with different products and so on. So you need to be aware of anything happening across your product and the others. There is the competency, of course. So
it sounds
I don't know about numbers, but more or less.
Yeah, no, it's just a thought that like popped in my head, because a lot of times we don't know what we spend our time on. Maybe we're spending a lot of time just responding to emails instead of doing something proactive.
Yeah, well, the meetings nowadays, we have more meetings than ever. So we have started. I've been listening to different podcasts, also different meetings about pre-sales and so on. We also started to track our time. So recently, this year, we told everyone, hey, we need to track at least all the time spent in new business or expansion of existing customers. So that is started to be tracked. But in Spain, as an example, for instance, we started to track, I would say, 4 years ago, when we were just doing consultancy, we started to track almost everything. So with that, we collected good numbers, but even with that, we weren't tracking the meetings, or if I have a call like this one, or I have adapt, I don't know how to configure the product, I call a colleague, etc. That's not track, of course. But we saw that we were, like even trying to track everything, related to clients, we were tracking kind of 50-60% of our time, just 50, 60, 70 maximum. The rest of it was, meetings, internal things you are doing. Then I had a problem, maybe related to a demo, but well, it's a problem I had because I wasn't able to do something, or I was learning something. So, well, that was happening. Like, well, you lose time during the day. Not lose, you are not losing time, but you are doing things you need to do. Yeah.
Well, sometimes we lose time during the day. Like if I work on Salesforce right now, it just takes forever to save something.
Of course. So if you are searching for some documentation or some opportunity and you lose 10 minutes because you don't find it. Yeah, of course.
So, here's another challenge that I see. A lot of information within a company are placed on way too many different places, like Confluence, SharePoint. And you're saying your team is actually very active in creating new knowledge sharing videos or whatever. How do you maintain like the repository without losing track, or people not using it at all?
Yeah. Well, we've tried different things. So in Liferay, we are the owners of something called Liferay Digital Experience Platform. So in theory, we should be able to have a single place where we can add whatever we need. So videos, documentation, etc. So well, that's what we are using internally. We do have our own platform in order to share all the things, but maybe we also have a chat tool, and there is very good and very valuable information in the chat tool itself. So, hey, the chat tool is not connected with the Liferay DXP platform, right? So yeah, that happens. Then someone creates a document which is in Google Drive. So again, that Google Drive, well, maybe it's connected somehow in the digital skills platform, but maybe it is not. The same with emails and so on. So yeah, I mean, I don't have the answer for that. If you really want to have everything in a single place, you need to duplicate, do your work again. You need to go and instead of just add the item into the platform in the correct place, blah, blah, blah. And that takes time. So, well, we try to do whatever we can with the time we have. And so, and then we have search tools, etc. No. One thing I've learned in these years is that, you know, a key talent that all of us sales engineers do have is the ability to search. That's for sure. Yeah. That's for sure. Yeah. To create relationships and to search. Yeah.
Nice. In our previous conversation, you mentioned a critique session.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind explaining what that is and how it goes? And
yeah, so yeah, all this related to, you know, like creating connections and letting the people interact between them and learning. We decided to create a monthly session where an SE, a sales engineer, was going to do a demo to the other people, to the other sales engineers. The other sales engineers are going to be there listening, pretending to be a customer. Okay, so the sales engineer that is organizing the call, he's going to tell us, okay, so you need to be a customer which is very technical, or you need to be a customer in the insurance sector, whatever. And then he goes and does the demonstration for 30 minutes or similar. We just listen, and at the end, we are there to provide feedback. Okay, so the idea is that we see a live demo in real time, and then we provide feedback to the guy, to he or to she. So about how was the meeting, what are our thoughts, which things could have been better, etc., etc. That is the main idea. Yeah.
And is there one feedback that you feel like you're given over and over?
Well, yeah, one feedback that happens in our company, for instance, is that we try to solve many things in little time. In this critique, we only have 30 minutes. So and sometimes with customers, we have 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. So you try to solve many things and you go quick. Well, yeah, the number one feedback that we got always is, hey, why don't you do some pause? Why don't you wait a little bit? Now, you are a sales engineer doing something in front of other sales engineers. You are not like 100% in your role. So that's why maybe you go a little bit quicker than expected. Yeah, that happens. That happens.
And are these like critique sessions, are you doing them in tandem with the sales team, or is it just an SE team specific?
We started only with the SE team. Yes, that's right. But you know, in some regions, for instance, in some regions, we saw that I was perceiving that there was a little bit of a disconnection between the sales team and the pre-sales team. So in such a case, we were also organizing specific sessions for that, for those people where the pre-sales could, don't know, demonstrate something or showcase anything. So they interact more. They see that speaking with us is not like speaking with, don't know, God, etc. So that was like improving that specific place. But yeah, it's a good suggestion for the future. Yeah, we might think about it, like adding other people. It doesn't need to be sales. It can be other people providing feedback. Yeah.
It's the reason I'm bringing up sales is I've seen this a lot where SEs practice on their own, and then they go into a meeting with a salesperson who messes everything up for them. Not because it's a bad salesperson, it's just because they never communicated what they wanted to do with the salesperson. Yeah. So I've seen situations where it's supposed to be a demo, and then the salesperson talks for 45 minutes, and now the SE is really in a hurry to solve everything in 15 minutes.
Yeah, that has happened a lot. Well, I mean, we need to think that if there's a meeting, and we need to imagine that it's an important one, there is a rehearsal that is going to happen at least once or twice between the sales and the sales engineer. But yes, sometimes because of the sake of time, it doesn't happen, and then things happen. Yeah.
Well, in my experience, sometimes there's a few meetings before it becomes an important meeting. And what happens in those few meetings, if the sales team and the SE team are not communicating properly, then you won't get that big meeting, or you might get that despite of the sales team, not because of the sales team. So it's yeah. But in terms of feedback, something my boss did was he brought product management in, and asked them to be their sales team, so that they can go through what we go through, try to sell things that are not really sellable, and you know. So
no, that's another good idea. Yeah, so like, because the product managers are gonna see how you sell the things they build, of course. And
well, yeah, I enjoy. So the thing about product managers, is that sometimes they're far removed from customers, and they think they came up with a great idea, and when they try to, and then they say, "Why aren't you selling this?" Like, all right, come, let's have this meeting and try to sell it to me, and then we kind of have fun with it. We make worst case scenario. We just like destroy them in a sense. So that kind of changes the way they see things.
Yeah,
it sounds like your platform is fairly technical, right? How a big thing that SEs have to work is juggle business. I mean, we're doing meetings. We're not working on the platform 24/7 like the software developers who are working on it, or the implementation team, the consultants. So how do your sales engineers juggle learning and all the other things that they have to do with their customers and their sales team?
I mean, I always say that in Liferay, you would need to live 100 lives in order to read all the documentation that we are creating internally, and also customer facing, because of our product and the different products we have, and anything that is related. So, well, I don't know how it goes. I can imagine how it goes over there, but for me, for instance, it's like, okay, yes, I end my work, the 8 hours and a half that I need to do, but then I keep reading and reading, trying to learn all the things that are happening around my company and different products and the competency, etc. So it's a never-ending story. I do imagine that people don't do that. Not all sales engineers need to do that, of course. But well, then, it's kind of, sometimes you are in situations where you see a mate asking for something you do know, because it happened 5 days ago or whatever. So then you help him, no problem with that. But at the same time, you realize how hard it is to try to be in all the deals, with all the documentation, all the administrative tasks that we have to do from time to time, all the meetings. It's hard to meet all the things we need to do. But well, what can you do? Day by day. If you cannot do it today, then you try tomorrow early in the morning and you go ahead. Yeah.
So it's like sales engineering is kind of a combination of different skills. One of which is kind of you didn't say it per se, but it's having thick skin and being able to figure things out. When you're hiring for sales engineers, how do you find that 1 in a million person who would have the technical skills, the sales skills, the tough skin, and the ability to learn continuously on the fly, and the ability not to know everything and still not be afraid to meet the customer?
Yeah. Well, first of all, lately it has been hard to find people. I mean, we have different open positions in Liferay. So, hey, people, if anyone want to join, here we are. Specifically in some countries. So we are searching for people in Nordics. We were searching in Africa. Now we have a person that is going to start, don't know, in Germany. So, well, it's been hard, and I think it's hard because even if time has passed by, I mean, everyone knows now what sales engineering is, more or less. I would say that it is still not as known as other functions on a company. So with that, and what happens, at least in our company, we still need to be technical. You know, I mean, I'm not programming Java every day. That's not my day by day, of course. But first of all, I need to understand it. I need to understand the whole picture, because sometimes I'm speaking about SEO, other times I'm speaking about performance, and other times I'm speaking about security. So, well, every day is different. So we need to be technical, that's for sure. But at the same time, we are asking the people to be business oriented, to be customer facing, to have a good smile, etc., etc. So yeah, the combination is hard, and we are having hard times find people. But well, okay, in our case, we have, you know, this kind of process where we do a little interview first, then we send an exercise, then we do a technical interview, which is around that exercise and getting to know the person better. And then also human resources is involved. So yeah, a little bit tiring, maybe like 3-4 interviews, but well, we try to detect the different skills through those interviews. Yeah.
So one thing that I see a lot of people facing is there's a shortage of SEs out there. There aren't enough SEs for the companies that require them. Okay. And if you want to do 3 or 4 interviews to be sure, at some point, maybe they get stolen by somebody else. So how are you managing to make sure that, okay, this is the sure thing, I want this person, and make sure that that person is not stolen by somebody else before you can provide an offer?
Yeah, well, maybe that's one thing that's happening right now. So, well, you know, at a given moment, we've been thinking about stopping doing an exercise, because if you ask people to do an exercise, then you need to give them time. You need to give them, I always think, okay, at least 1 weekend or 2 weekends, because if you are full on your job, then you are going to use the weekends. But then if you use 2 weekends, what happens? Hey, it's 14 days that you are just waiting for the answer. So yeah, it's hard. The balance here is hard. On the other side, I've been experiencing that it's like a decision people do. Like, okay, if I go and do the exercise, I am also demonstrating that I am really interested. If for instance, I start and say, hey, no, I cannot do exercises. If you want anything from me, here's my CV. Well, yeah, maybe I've lost some good candidates because of that. But at the same time, I feel that, hey, why not? I was doing the same when I joined Liferay. So
you're losing candidates because they don't want to do the demo?
Very few.
Okay.
But maybe I would say I remember at least 2 or 3. Last time in Spain, we were searching for a person. Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, if someone has a lot of opportunities, sure, they can say, no, I don't want to do the demo. But like, as sales engineers, it's like going to our customer and telling me, I want to see the product. And we say, no, here's the data sheet. Read that.
So what happens? Maybe nowadays, I mean, people can send the YouTube videos and say, hey, so if you want to see how am I, here you have the 2, 3, 4, 5 videos that I have from different meetings. And yeah, okay, in those cases, yeah, maybe we should be flexible enough in order to, you know, okay, so I can see how you are, I can really feel it. So why should I need an extra exercise on such a case? But it is also true that comes with the experience. I mean, if you are a very experienced guy with more than 5 years doing pre-sales, then yes, maybe you can say, hey, so the exercise one thing on the exercise we ask, or we were asking for, is that it has a technical part. Okay, you need to download the product, install it, do something, and then show us. So yeah, that's why you are going to spend time. And maybe for people that are really full, it's like a barrier. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe another alternative would be to demo something they already know. That's technical.
Yeah, that's we were doing that in the past also, and nowadays we are kind of doing. I mean, we want to test a little bit the technical skills, so we are doing like the two things, like just choose whatever you want and speak about it, but we want you to, at least play with the platform a little bit and show us how it goes.
Okay.
That again, yeah, we need to balance it well. We are starting some requisitions, so we need to balance it well, because nowadays, one thing that is true is that, I can open LinkedIn and maybe I have a proposal tomorrow or in 10 days or in 5 days. So one thing that is true is that people are looking for people. Yeah, that's true. It's happening everywhere, not only in pre-sales. Yeah.
And so I've seen, since I've started the podcast, I've seen the role change. And in my world, we do pre-sales and post-sales. In the SaaS world, there's the pre-sales team, and then you have the customer success, and then you have implementation. What are you seeing? What are you seeing as the future of sales engineering and pre-sales, and what are the skills that people need to work on?
Yeah. So we are experiencing kind of the same. For instance, in the US, it has started before. In the US, nowadays they have more specialization. So they have a customer success team that it's starting to be created in EMEA, but before didn't exist. We also have a specific bunch of people that are only dedicated to the channel, so enabling the channel, the partners, and also doing pre-sales for the partners when they need it. But here in EMEA, no, the same person is taking care about the prospect and leads, which is the main function they have in the US, the SEs have in the US. But here, the same person is doing that, plus doing customer engagement, plus doing partner help, because there's a specific deal, it comes through a partner, but we help the partner anyway. And also marketing. We sometimes go to a specific event and do a talk, or we write something in a newspaper. I don't know. So all that is done here in EMEA. But at the same time, yes, we are starting to have a customer success team. They will look for sales engineers for that specific team. We are starting also to have more specialization with partners. So yeah, it seems that sales engineers are kind of specializing in selling, getting new logos and expanding the current customers. Okay, that's fine, but at that time, I still need to see, specifically in EMEA, where we have different languages. That's key. I cannot duplicate all the teams, all the people in all the teams. So, if I need to showcase the roadmap of our product to an existing customer, okay, that is not per se an expansion, but anyway, it's an engagement that you need to do, because if they renew, you get money every year, right? So. Yeah. Don't know. I'll see what customer success brings into the scene. But right now, what I feel is that, day by day, we are still helping all these different clients. To me, is the same client. So I have marketing as a client, customers as a client, partners as a client, and prospects as a client. And well, if we specialize, hey, that's fine. What will we do? Well, we will spend more days preparing the demo, which is fine. That is perfect. I'm always fine when they tell me, so you are going to have a demo in 2 weeks. And the salesperson is thinking, hey, you cannot be unhappy. It's 2 weeks. The problem is that in these 2 weeks, I have 4 meetings or 5 meetings that are also happening, right? So yeah.
Have you looked at having just simple demo engineers or demo setup engineers, those who can work in the background to set up the demo, and then the SE comes in and just does the demo, and they don't have to do all the work?
Yeah, that's starting to happen also. So we have we also have now a sales enablement team, and in such team we are also adding the company is also adding technical people that are going to prepare the generic demos for having them ready for each sector and so on. Now, what happens? In in some countries, in some regions, one example is the Middle East. In some regions, they need to see their logo in the demo. They need to see their colors and the news and so on. So even if you have the generic demo, you still need to spend 3-4 days adapting that demo to the specific opportunity. Now, of course, that if we have a very good demo that can be adapted then yes, you only will spend 3 days instead of 8 days, of course. That is per se good. Yeah. So yeah, it's starting to happen. And it's also related to the fact of, having more customer-facing, business-oriented. Then together with that, we start to feel the need of, maybe having technical people kind of in the background in our department or in others. And then, having the sales engineers in front of the sale. Yeah.
Like I find the sales engineers as the master storytellers. And if they're spending too much time working on bringing something up, they're spending time away from crafting the story that they want to share with their
I've been in that exact place many times, like, the day before, struggling with whatever I was trying to configure. And then the demo day, I was like, hey, what was the order of the things I was going to solve? I haven't thought about what are my 3 big things I want to solve, right?
Yeah.
So at a given moment, you need to give up. If that's the case, you need to give up. You need to find another way of tell that story. I mean, without the technical stuff. So you tell that, but you need to have the good story to tell. Yes, of course. So if you don't think on your script, I've been doing that, and I've been telling that to the team, like, why don't you write the script you are going to say tomorrow? Now, I am not telling you that you are going to read the script. I am just telling you that you write it, then you organize yourself, and then tomorrow, of course, you do whatever you feel, but you will remember 40% of it, 50% of the things you were writing, right? So, well, that's the
right.
Yeah.
So this has been amazing so far, Rafa. It is time to move on to the not so fire round. These are the same 4 questions I ask almost every guest, and I would love to hear your thoughts about it. And I always start off with the first question, obviously, which is, what do you love about what you're doing today?
Yeah. Well, I love that. I don't know if it is very typical, but I love that I'm learning a new thing every day, still learning. When I was in the consultancy company, I was doing pre-sales, but for, different products and partners. It was like, I even knew anything about something and I needed to pre-sale it, Then I said, hey, I need to specialize. But then when I came into Liferay, I saw that nowadays we have not only 1, but 4 products. We also have the cloud, then the containers, then the security, everything. So you need to keep learning day by day. That's, to me, it's the number 1 thing I love from our job. Yeah.
That's nice. And question number 2, what would you change about the current role of either SE manager or just SE in general?
Yeah. Well, as a manager of SEs, I would say that, don't know. One thing I wish I could do, and I'm not yet doing, is, well, if I am a manager, I want to be like, don't know, 80% of my time just thinking of managing people and improving the team. But I cannot do that. I'm doing also sales at the same time. So I'm manager, but I'm still doing pre-sales, right? So, again, finding the balance there. I need to be in some opportunities. Then I'm not thinking on the team because the team is senior enough. Yeah, but how could we be better tomorrow? That's the thing we don't do because we are with the day by day. Okay, yeah.
I sometimes find like senior teams don't try anything new just because they've been used to doing something. So having a manager who's thinking about that is very useful, even though it's a senior team.
Yeah. No, that's why we need to spend time on just thinking of managing. And sometimes we say, okay, let's wait for next week. Let's wait for next week. And it never happens.
Is there a book or resource you recommend to your SEs to read?
Well, I was reading The Social Sales Engineer by Patrick. I really enjoy it, and well, that's one of the reasons maybe I'm here, because when I was not only reading that, but also doing the 30 days social challenge.
Yeah.
So I was exposing myself to more to LinkedIn than before, making connections, putting thoughts, etc. So, well, I mean, it's a different kind of book because it's not gonna teach you around best sales engineering practices, but at the same time, there is a very good collection of different things, and hey, it's very easy to read it and to learn those things. So yeah, to me, that's the latest book I've read, and I like. I mean, the technical one.
All right, last question of the not so fire round. Is there a habit you're working on today to improve either in your personal or your professional life?
Well, in the professional way, one habit I'm trying to put in place is together with reading the Social Sales Engineer book, I was also trying to be aware of all the techniques, all the companies that are now investing time on evolving the pre-sales, right? So we have tons of companies, not tons, but yeah, dozens of companies out there that can help sales engineers across the world. So, well, I'm trying to be aware of all that and then see how can I help my team to grow because of benefiting from all that. For instance, one thing I need to do for sure this year is to go with my team into a specific course just for SEs in order to, start listening about practices and things we are maybe doing, but are not yet under our skin, like introducing our day-by-day practice.
Nice. All right. Okay. This is a question not related to the not so fire round. It just popped in my head. Is there one question you always ask your customers whenever you meet them?
Not really. Sorry, I'm not good at asking questions. I know that the number one trend nowadays is like, instead of just doing your demo and listening yourself, you should be maybe listening your customer. I know that, and I'm trying to really do that. Well, don't know. If I have to think on a question, maybe I would say that I use many times things like, is it fine? Are you okay with what you are seeing? But I have to admit that, hey, I need to improve that part of the way I do my pre-sale. Yeah.
Whatever, that's good.
Don't know about other people. It's hard to me to really do a pause, do a question, and listen for the feedback. It's risky also because you are exposing yourself. I mean, if you do a question, what happens with the question that you are going to get?
Yeah, probably say I'll have to get back to you with some answer. Which is like,
yeah, of course, that's the number one. Yeah.
All right. Last question of the day, Rafa. You mentioned you're hiring. If people want to connect with you, where can they do that?
Well, in JobBite, we have all the proposals for Liferay, but anyway, there's my profile in LinkedIn, and I'm open to any kind of message, connection, etc. And as I said, yeah, the majority of the time I spend in my day-by-day is kind of related with the technology. So I'm always reading one chat or another, one app or another. So yeah, here I am.
Well, I appreciate your time, Rafa. This has been great, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, the same. It was a pleasure to be here, and I expect to be here more times if possible.
Yeah, I'll be happy to have you.
Okay, thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for listening all the way through. I appreciate the time you spend with us and with me specifically because, well, it's my show. So I would love to hear your thoughts around this. I would love to hear if you agree, disagree about anything that I said or Rafa said, because we can all learn from each other through like critiques, as Rafa was mentioning earlier. And speaking of critiques, which was an unexpected segue, I do have the hotline up and running right now. It is still in the founder mode, which means I am looking for clients to help me streamline the business. Excuse me, streamline how we process people signing up. So if you are looking for some form of coaching, external to your current job, where you looking to improve your skills, talk about some of the issues that you're facing on a day-to-day basis, and having a plan to grow for the future, make sure you look into WeTheSalesEngineers.com and the hotline specifically. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer all of your questions. If you don't have any questions, well, that's just strange because you're in pre-sales. You should always have questions. But yeah, let's just leave it there, and I will see you guys next time. With that, this is me signing off.